Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. I've been watching AEW, or All Elite Wrestling, for the past month on TNT. And I have been impressed with what I saw over at AEW. They have done a great job of producing a wrestling show that it ranks right up there with the golden age of the rock and wrestling era of the WWF, and it really captures the spirit of that era of WCW and NWO from about 96 to about 1998 and the Attitude Era of the WWF. And what I love about AEW is that the show has a lot of heart. You can see the passion in the wrestlers when they are either cutting a promo on the mic or they are working in the ring. And the storytelling is incredibly compelling from what I've seen on the AEW Dynamite show and the AEW Dark matches on YouTube. And I love everything about AEW so far because you see that passion and that heart whenever you see any of these wrestlers either talking about working in AEW or working in the ring. You just feel a completely different energy than you would in a WWE show, because with AEW you feel like people want to be here, they want to give you their very best, and they want to give you something great in exchange for your time. And they value your time in AEW, and that's something I like seeing because every episode of either AEW Dynamite or AEW Dark is very, very well paced. They do a great job of setting up stories. They do a great job of developing stories, either in the ring or cutting a promo. And what I like about it is the show is very balanced. I mean, with AEW, we see that most of the action centers on what's going on in the ring, and that's primarily what makes for a great wrestling show, because with WWE these days, we get so much focus on segments that we really don't get to see why we should care about what's going on in the ring. And that's what I like about AEW, is that we get a primary focus on what's going on in the ring, and we get a focus on seeing the athletes in action. So I like the athleticism, especially in the matches, the athleticism, because the matches are very fast-paced. We get a lot of near falls, and we get a lot of story build up in the ring, and that's something that really lacks in a lot of WWE shows. We don't get that type of story build up like we used to do in the rock and wrestling era when I was a kid. You would see the matches go on, and you would see the guys, either he would work a body part to show how the guy was being weakened by it, and then eventually he had to overcome. And that led for some really great and compelling storytelling. I really like the way the action moves in the AEW ring in comparison to the WWE ring, because it's the matches are focused on showing the athleticism, and it's also focused on really solid storytelling, which is something that I have not seen in WWE matches over the last couple of years. Usually I see a lot of talking, but I don't see a lot of action, and we see a lot more action in AEW matches than we do in WWE matches. And when it comes down to building stories, they do a great job over at AEW, whether it be Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes feuding over the title, or guys like your Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega going out and having their feud, or even guys like the bad boy Joey Janela. There's still great compelling storylines in AEW, and it keeps you glued to your screen, whether it be a bottom card match, a mid card match, or a top card match. you usually stay glued to the screen for the time that these matches are going on. And that's something that I have not seen in a wrestling show really since the Ruthless Aggression era of WWE, where the show was booked so solidly that you didn't want to leave because you feared missing something, and you will with AEW. If you turn your eyes away from the screen too long, you're gonna miss something, and you're gonna regret missing something. Like just this week, Cody cut one of the best promos I've seen from a guy wanting a title shot. I mean, if WWE had used Cody like this, he would be on the main event level at WWE with icons like John Cena and Edge and many of the other iconic world champions. And Cody shows that he has what it takes to be a world champion. I believe he should have had that shot in WWE, but they just never used him in the proper way. But we see in AEW, we see him coming to that next level as a superstar, and that's one of the things I like seeing in AEW is seeing all these wrestlers who never really got a shot get their shot at something, at doing things great and achieving greatness. And I see greatness with many of the AEW superstars. They show a lot of promise, whether it be, again, Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes, or whether it be the Young Bucks, or whether it be the guys like the Moxley or Kenny Omega. These guys just show amazing in-ring ability, and they also show very, very great charisma, and they show that they're taking this opportunity very seriously to take themselves to the next level, and the product they have put on is far superior to anything I have seen in the WWE over the last 2 to 3 years, because with the WWE these days, a lot of it, the wrestlers really, they come at cutting these really bland promos, and everything is just so cut and paste. It doesn't have that energy that an AEW show has. I mean, AEW shows have this distinct energy that you get from wrestling shows like old school Attitude Era WWF, or old school WCW NWO, and old school Rock and Wrestling era. And that's primarily because they focus on the craft of wrestling the way it used to be. Because in AEW, unlike WWE, they let the wrestlers cut their own promos. They let the wrestlers make their own calls as related to their matches, and they just basically do the booking the way it used to be done in the old school, and it's led to the product at AEW being far fresher than the product of WWE these days, which feels very canned. And the reason why WWE feels very canned is because everything is controlled by Vince McMahon, everything is scripted by Vince McMahon, and the wrestlers can't even cut their own promos. So these days we can't get an Austin 316 moment or a "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?" because guys like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins can't make up their own promos the way guys like your Stone Cold Steve Austin used to, The Rock used to, or even Edge used to. And they cannot really develop their characters the way old school wrestlers used to develop their own characters and gimmicks, because in the old days wrestlers used to create their own gimmicks, and the promotional owners would let them cut their own promos, cut their own gimmicks, and even work out how they wanted to work their matches. They would just give them a time, and then they would tell them who would either win or lose, but what happened in the ring was up to those wrestlers, and it was up to them to tell a great story. Now, there were some things like segments that were sometimes choreographed and set up, but still, it was up to the wrestlers to go and do things like what we saw with Moxley and Omega when he put him through the coffee table. they put that together and they made that really work for a very explosive moment on the air. That was one of the fun moments of the AEW, the first show I saw. And I like the way they really let, again, all of the guys come in and get a spot, and get that moment to really shine. And that's something else I really like seeing over at AEW. Now, while most of what over at AEW has been great overall as related to the guys, the only nitpick I have with AEW is as related to the women's division. Now, the AEW women's division has some really solid wrestlers like Awesome Kong and many other wrestlers like Britt Baker and Bea Priestley, and they have the talent there to really make a great women's division, but they really have not been focusing on storylines as related to the women's division. The first storyline I saw with Bea Priestley and Dr. Britt Baker, that was looking like a solid feud, and it really had good chemistry, and it was a start in the right direction, but it really did not get enough screen time to really develop. I really wish that at AEW they would have given both of those performers the time to develop as related to screen time. And I've seen several of the Japanese wrestlers they had over there. They're very strong as well. So they have the talent there, but they just need to book the talent of the women's division a little better, because from what I've seen from their ring work, it is very solid. And if you've got a solid group of performers, all you need to do is just get the booking straight as related to the women's division, and you could have a women's division that is on the level of the TNA Knockouts back in the day, because the TNA Knockouts division, that was some of the best women's wrestling I have ever seen. I mean, the matches between Awesome Kong and Gail Kim and Mickie James, those are classics. And I believe that AEW could have those same type of classics because they have the talent over there. I mean, I forget what her name is. She dresses like Freddie Mercury, but she's trained multiple Japanese wrestlers. So you have the talent there to make a good division, but you just need the storytelling to build up the AEW women's division. Now, the men's division, that's top notch. It's some of the best, again, since the old days of WCW and Attitude Era WWE and that golden age period, and really has that heart and soul. But the thing that really slows things down are the women's division, which really, as I see it, just the athleticism is there and the ability is there ring wise, but what they need is good booking as related to storytelling, and they need to really start working on establishing some feuds for the AEW ladies to get into. And if they do that, they will have one of the best shows ever since that 90s period of the Attitude Era WCW and having those Wednesday night wars, and we could be in for some of the best programming overall. As I look at AEW right now, they are putting on some of the best wrestling on the air right now, and if you want to see some really great wrestling, you definitely have to tune into AEW Dynamite on TNT on Wednesdays at 8, and you also should tune into the dark matches, because the dark matches are practically like watching a pay-per-view for free. I feel like I'm cheating Cody and the people at AEW every time I watch a AEW Dark, because AEW Dark was practically better than many WWE pay-per-views. I mean, the matches are so good, you feel it's literally like getting a pay-per-view match or a series of pay-per-view matches for free. So when I look at AEW, they are putting on some top quality product, and the wrestlers are telling some great stories. And this is something I highly recommend you go out and watch. Check out AEW Dynamite on TNT at 8 on Wednesdays, and check out AEW Dark Specials on Tuesdays on YouTube. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up my books like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, or the Spinsterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.